The Commanders have a massive problem. They're 0-4 against teams that are currently holding a playoff spot. Even worse, they have 3 trends in all 4 of those games that point to one season-ending flaw. So in this video, we're going to explain what those trends are and why what they're pointing towards has us so concerned. After watching this, you'll be just as worried as we are about the Commanders' playoff run. The most interesting trend was that people who subscribe to this channel tend to have the best football knowledge. But for the Commanders, the first trend and most obvious one was the second half collapses. In week 1, they're down by double digits at halftime, but in the other 3 losses, they were either within 1 possession or leading at the half. It's not just that they ended up losing the games either, but it was like how they lost the games that was so concerning. Against the Steelers, the Commanders scored a touchdown on their first drive after halftime to take a 24-14 lead, but then put up only 3 points the rest of the game. Against the Eagles, they carried a 10-6 lead into the 4th quarter, but then they give up 20 unanswered points on 3 straight possessions. By the time the offense tried to fight back, the game was pretty much over. The same thing happened against Baltimore as well. The game was so close at 17-13 a few minutes into the 3rd quarter, but then the Ravens went on a 13-7 run. 2 out of the 3 collapses happened with the lead, therefore we started looking for the answers on defense.
The first thing we noticed is it doesn't help when your defense is getting gashed late in games, which leads us to our second trend that we caught. The defense always seemed to fall apart in the second half. And Emmett, the troubling thing is, it was never the same way. During the Eagles game, the Commanders contained Saquon and company to 3.9 yards per rush, 0 explosive runs, and no touchdowns throughout the first 3 quarters. Pretty good against one of the best rushing offenses in the NFL. But then in the 4th, those numbers exploded to 9.8 yards per rush, 4 explosive runs, and 3 touchdowns. Emmett, that can't happen in a game where you're leading in the 4th quarter. But it's not just a run. Against the Steelers, they made Russell Wilson and that offense have to grind for everything that they had to earn through the first 3 quarters. The Commanders' defense held them to a combined 4 explosive plays and 3.43 yards per pass. That is a respectable performance that gives your offense a chance to win. But then in the 4th, they gave up 3 explosive plays, 2 by air, including the game-winning touchdown to Mike Williams, and allowed 12.4 yards per pass. It's nearly impossible to win games like that. You and I both know that. Even during the Bucs game, the Commanders pulled within 9 with a little more a quarter to go. But then the defense allowed 4 explosive plays, and before you knew it, the game was out of reach. It was over. Now, I get it. No one expected the defense to play like the steel curtain this year, but playing solid ball for 3 quarters just to get shredded in the 4th is gut-wrenching. Now, Emmett, the offense wasn't guilt-free either in these games. Therefore, that takes us to our 3rd trend that we noticed.
It didn't matter if it was drops, sacks, or missed blocks, the Commanders found every way possible to be terrible on 3rd down. In their 4 games against playoff teams, they were consistently stuck in 3rd and long, averaging 7.68 yards to go. Consequently, they only converted 34% of their 3rd downs. That'd be the 3rd worst conversion rate in the league on its own. But then it gets worse in crunch time. When you look specifically at the second half of games, they converted only 27% of their 3rd downs. That would be by far the worst in the league. I've seen batting averages better than that. A lot of this problem comes from Jayden Daniels' struggles to handle the pressure in these games though.
For most of the year, Jayden has actually done a really good job of making plays when he's actually being pressured. He ranks in top half of the league in most passing stats, which is why the Commanders have converted 3rd downs at the 3rd highest rate on the entire year. However, he really struggled against the Bucs, Ravens, Steelers, and Eagles. And Emmett, in those 4 games, Jayden did not play like the calm, decisive playmaker that we've come to expect. Under pressure, he completed 50% of his passes, threw for no touchdowns, and took 11 sacks. To use a number to show the harmful impact of that performance, he cost the team a combined 28.8 expected points. That's a lot. Consequently, that impact showed up by the offense falling behind the chains. By comparison, the limited time the offense was able to stay on schedule and get 3rd and short situations, they converted 77% of those opportunities. But what is causing these issues on offense and defense? To oversimplify it, they just aren't built for it yet. This is a team that is relying heavily on rookies And it just shows in the critical moments and the biggest games. Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury have relied on this rookie class to play almost 3,200 snaps this year, the third most by any group in the NFL, and for the most part, they have been stellar. But they are still rookies, and their inexperience showed up at key moments in every big game this year. Emmett, we already mentioned Jayden Daniels under pressure, but Brandon Coleman struggled with speed rushers like Yannick Ngakoue, Josh Sweat, and Nolan Smith in critical moments. Therefore, the only way to improve on that is for those guys to get the experience and learn. On the defensive side of the ball, you have young guys making too many mental errors. The most obvious example of this is the way the Steelers game ended. The defense got the stop that they needed, and we're about to give the ball back to Jayden, but Newton jumped off sides on 4th and 1. It was the craziest play. I don't know how that happened. Now, I still like the way in the direction that this team is going. They built a strong core with this rookie class, but I do believe they need to address some key areas like safety, corner, and left guard to help them reach the next level. I believe they will be a force next year, but this year they are still kind of learning the ropes and they are growing.
This experience will go a long way to building a sustainable powerhouse for Washington. While they won't win it all this year, it will still set them up to go further next year. Another year in Kingsbury's system will also go a long way in helping out Jayden Daniels, a system that we broke down in this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. We are the RFL Show, and we'll see you in the next episode.